Thank you very much, Wolfgang. I'm very glad to be here, and it's been very inspiring to hear all the previous speakers and to learn more about the COCO for CI. Yeah, my name is Raffaela Seitz. I work for the Cross Innovation Hub, which is a project by Hamburg Kreativ, and I co-lead this project. And beforehand, before I started co-leading the project, I was in the field of just conception and organization. But to contextualize it a bit more, Hamburg Kreativ is a public agency owned by the city of Hamburg. We support agents from the creative industries in all those different sub-markets as listed here, so from architecture to advertising in the fields of space, financing, knowledge, and innovation. And this project, Cross Innovation Hub, has its turf in the innovation field. It's a learning project and a platform to explore and open up new innovation potentials in the collaboration with creatives and agents from other industries, from the business sector, as well as the public sector. What's like the premise by all of our formats of how we are approaching cross innovation is that the collaboration always takes place on eye level. In every project that we conduct as Cross Innovation Hub, we try to make sure that this is given, and so it's always about how we organize and shape this collaboration, but it's also always about solutions in the end. Right, so we're not concentrating our work on one specific kind of innovation. So we're approaching product innovation, process innovation, service innovation, as well as business model innovation, and are also working in the fields of transformative plans when it comes to digitization or work culture. And we started with this project of Cross Innovation Hub in 2016. Yes, it's partly co-financed by the European Development Regional Fund. So what does that mean for us as a public intermediary? We try to build or regard ourselves as sort of bridge builders, translators, organizers of such spaces of cross innovation, where we try to make sure that those are spaces of trust and psychological safety, and try to bear in mind what we call success factors for cross innovation. So factors that we learned are crucial so that people really can effectively work with each other, result open, but yet solution oriented on that eye level. And those are factors as facilitation, space, topic, legal frameworks, financial conditions, the constellation of participants and partners, just to mention a few. So what we do in the hub is that we conduct different programs, like it can be events, just like one-day workshops, but it can also be labs that last for several months. So in this first period of EU promotion, we started also with this thesis that creatives are innovation catalysts, as just mentioned beforehand, also because we also deeply believe that they're very good at changing perspective, that they're highly flexible and adaptive to context, needs and changes. They naturally move in networks and naturally move along different disciplines. So they are open to transdisciplinary work. They show a high fluidity of ideas, are original in what they create, are very sensitive for problems, and are actually capable to also redefine challenges that are given so that it matches the potentials that they can contribute throughout a process, and that they have this visionary striving so that can really imagine spaces that others may not be able to imagine. And in all those creative processes, they're always like result open, but yet solution oriented. So this is where we are also like orienting ourselves towards, to make sure that we raise potentials in the best possible ways, and at the same time making sure that companies, because we have co-financing partners, trust the process and open up for such collaboration. So this is like just the key visual of one of our formats, which is called the Cross Innovation Lab. The last Cross Innovation Lab, which took, or the last bigger Cross Innovation Lab took place from February to June last year. In this lab, 22 companies participated from very different industries like logistics, aviation, finance, building and construction, as well as mobility. It were companies like Deal Aviation or Implenia, or also a public institution like the Authorities for Traffic and Mobility Turnaround. There were in total 7 challenges in this focus on climate. So all those 7 challenges were about how to make operations, products, processes greener. There were 27 creatives involved from very different sub-markets, so from different fields of design, so speculative design, product design, industry design, and communication design, for instance, as well as journalists, artists, etc., and 3 tools. So every challenge was accompanied by at least 2 creatives, 1 creative with competencies that we thought were sort of very close to the challenge. So if we're talking about, you know, like a building concept, it's sort of, it makes sense to include an architect, but it may not make sense at first sight to include someone from the theater field. But from our point, kind of it does. So we consciously increased also multi-perspectivity and so on. So those were creatives involved. There could also be creatives involved as facilitators of the process, or other creatives that have specific competencies that we're not giving in the team yet. Then we also had scientists involved from very different disciplines like biology, economies, and informatics, that were climate related in their research. So how did the process look like? This is like the process that we followed through. So we had those 7 teams with plans, and then all 7 teams, all the creatives met each other so they could really get to know each other. Then there was a period of field research where it was all about the creatives really understanding the context better of the teams. So to really sense for a reasonable challenge that they also find attractive as creatives with the backgrounds that they bring into. So before the ideation, the teams were all set up to go into that process of ideation, developing many idea routes. Then all the teams came together again in open innovation setting to present each other what they developed, and then the teams themselves made the decision which solution route they want to follow up on, so to go on that track on realization and create a solution in the end. And then we did partner in this last bigger lab round with the Hamburgische Investitionsförderbank, so a bank, but also other partners that could help us with the scientists, for instance. And as we are a learning project, of course, it was all about evaluation. also. So just to take up that question of Wolfgang, so how do we turn experiments into sustainable concepts models? Just one case out of the climate lab. We had Rhenus Logistics as one company participating in this lab, and it's a logistics service provider with approximately 35,000 employees, and it operates worldwide. And what they did is that they went into this lab process with a new team, an international team, which is called Green Warehousing Team. And their aim is to meet the European Green Deal from company side, and they were very open. Their plans were not clear at all. So what they appreciated about the lab was the open approach, and to sort of think in every possible direction. And what their task is to make warehouses greener, but how to do that, they didn't really know. So who were the creatives that joined this lab? It was Niels, a journalist, Marie-Pascale, an illustrator in the sustainability context, and Claudia, design manager and user experience designer. So they did sort of all of this field research within Rhenus Logistics, the creatives, and they came up with how might we challenge, how might we make warehouse knowledge and data accessible in order to motivate employees and managers and give them incentives to implement solutions for CO2 reduction, thinking about visualization and gamification. So this might be question came up after they did this field research, and sort of bit simplified, their main insights from this field research were, okay, there is not one fits it all solution. The warehouses Rhenus Logistics has are very different. Some are owned, others are rented, and the rented warehouse are not capable and willing to invest too much into sustainability means. Another insight was that there's already a lot of knowledge internally given, but it's not being used by other warehouses. So how to actually share and motivate people to learn more about the best cases that are already given, because there's like in Tilburg, there's like this best case warehouse already there. Interestingly, in this period of field research, the creatives could ask any question that came up to their minds. So what they also tested was, how radical can we actually be? I mean, can we talk about business models as well? Or what can we actually talk about? So they tried to sort of also stretch the space for solutions. They tried to identify where the major levers are for CO2 reduction when not being able to like go for a radical solution. So that was very interesting also to see and to observe, so that they really had like the space of eye-level collaboration taking place and trying to just stretch everything. So they identified two main users. In this warehouse context, it's Pavel, like a warehouse manager for whom sustainability is important, but yes, cost effectivity weighs a lot more. And Dominic, who's a technical director, and for him, for this persona, reducing energy usage is like the major goal. What we also found out in the field research is that it's like a very competitive climate in the company. So what the creatives developed was like an online portal to reduce CO2 consumption. So what you can see here is a map where you can see with all those little icons the different sides of Rhenus Logistics. And there is a color coding, so you can see like the overall sustainability performance. One being like very good in sustainability, different sustainability aspects to the gray down there, the 5 where it's not good at all. So like with this competitive competition filter, you can see where every site is, which ranking position every site has. Then you can dive deeper into those sites, learn more about where, in which categories that site is very good, what building wise is sustainable already, and you can sort of test, okay, if I turn 50% to solar energy, what does that make with my overall performance and all of that. So like making all the knowledge that is already given in the company intuitively present. What the creatives also involved was a set of medals, because they were also like, yeah, they strongly believe in collaboration and innovation culture. So accepting that there is like this very, well, realistically KPI driven company culture, they try to trigger with gaming, for instance, collaboration. So let's think about Pavel, you know, from Madrid, seeing, okay, well, this site is not performing very good when it comes to sustainability categories, but I do see that Dominic can help me from Barcelona. So I'm going to contact him, and Dominic can actually win a medal in collaboration wise. Then they thought also about like how like sites could also win those medals. So to not only think about single agents, but to think about big teams also. So that's like a concept that they created. And the beautiful thing about it is, though it's not a radical innovation, it's really sort of a concept that can really majorly diminish CO2 reduction, and it can be implemented in a business service, business analysis service that Rhenus Logistic already has. So it's a solution within their system. They could not implement it yet, though they will be doing it. And this is just, or that was just one example of, an exemplary case, but there are many cases more, like from the same climate lab, had an aviation team, and they developed a concept for a recyclable cabin. We in another lab we developed, or the creators developed, entire augmented reality prototype. In another lab there was like a product ecosystem being developed around the topic of cluing. This picture with Find is about a concept for a platform where companies that have spaces that they can actually temporarily give to creatives can just match with each other. And here you see like a picture of about a lab which took place with students, so not visionary professionals as in this lab that I just introduced, but with students from very many disciplines. And they, for example, developed a blind person's cane that will be realized. Yes, so throughout the years from the end of 2016, we worked together with very different partners. It's, I think, 159 partners. So it's not about marketing, but it's just to show we are very proud when it comes to those partners from the business and public sector. And there is not a specific industry that we concentrated on, and there's also not a specific topic that we concentrated on. Yep, thank you very much.